Okay, so at the end of 69, Jason had scattered the dragon's teeth into the field he had just plowed with two fire-breathing bulls, and they started being born from the ground, being produced from the ground. Okay, so here we are, beginning of 70. Not yet, however, had Jason completed um, the task, the entire task. Okay. Notice we have a pluperfect here. Okay. For indeed, Aeetes had ordered him, and notice here, Jason is here being represented by this dative pronoun because impero is one of those verbs that has a built-in object. Okay, so it literally it means really he gave orders to him. Okay, so but in English we'll just translate it idiomatically as Aeetes had ordered him. Okay. And then we have, so we have a verb of ordering, and we have an ut clause with a subjunctive. So what we've got here is that special type of purpose clause known as an indirect command. Okay, so Aeetes had ordered him to kill, and then here's our direct object way up here. Okay, to kill the armed men. Which armed men, Aeetes? The ones who were being born or produced from the teeth, okay? And Solus, that's Jason, okay? He had to do it alone, okay? He couldn't get help from somebody else. Afterwards, therefore, all the teeth into the field he had sown. Oh, okay, so after he had sown all the teeth into the field, Jason gave himself, okay, handed himself over to rest. Okay, why? Oh, because he was exhausted with weariness. Okay, and notice I translated sparsit as a pluperfect because it's a subordinate clause and it happens before this main verb, which is already in the past tense. Okay, and then so he was basically taking a rest. Okay, while those men were being produced. Okay, he was sleeping for a few hours, accusative of extent of time. Okay, he was sleeping for a few hours. And then here, with Westburn, this means near evening. Okay, near evening, however, out of sleep suddenly awoken, the thing had turned out in this way, but praedictum esset, as had been predicted. Oh, okay, here we have cognovit is introducing indirect statement. That's why we have this infinitive here. Okay, and something else here, I'll go ahead and restate the sentence now again in English word order. He was sleeping for a few hours. Near evening, however, having been awakened from sleep suddenly, he learned, right? He understood. He learned that the thing, the situation, had turned out, so indirect statement, in this way as had been predicted. Okay? And notice what we have here. We have this subjunctive here, but if this weren't in a subordinate clause in indirect statement, if we're going to translate ut as, this verb needs to be indicative. Okay, but here it's subjunctive because it's a subordinate clause inside indirect statement. Okay, so that explains that subjunctive. All we have to do is just translate it as an imperfect verb. We don't have to worry about it translating it as a subjunctive. Okay. For let's see here. For in all parts of the field, men with huge size of body, armed with swords and helmets, were arising from the ground in a very remarkable way. Okay? So here we have what's known as an ablative of description. Okay? We could translate this men of huge size of body, okay, or men with huge size of body, however you feel comfortable with that. And then just remember that is an ablative of description, okay, and armed with swords and helmets, or by means of, we could understand that as a ablative of means, okay, and they were rising from the ground, okay. When this had been learned, okay, Jason, a plan which Medea had given must not be overlooked, he was thinking, okay, so Jason was thinking that the plan, what plan? The plan which Medea had given him, okay, so she had apparently not only given him the ointment, but gave him some other advice on how to deal with what was going to happen. And how did she know it was going to happen? Well, maybe King Aeetes does this frequently. Who knows? Okay. So yeah, Jason was thinking that the plan which Medea had given him must not be overlooked or omitted. And notice here, omittendum is a gerundive modifying concilium. So it is an adjective / participle passive future. Okay. Yes, it is an adjective. Yes, it is a participle. Okay. You know, what kind of plan is it? A plan that must not be neglected, right? Okay. So, therefore, a huge, okay, and then in this way, in fact, Medea, had advised him, had suggested, into the middle of the men he threw. Oh, okay, so therefore it looks like Jason threw a rock, a huge rock, as Medea had advised him, into the middle of the men. Okay. Fine. Okay. And those guys, from every direction, ran together to the place. Apparently the place where the rock landed. Okay. And because each man, and notice how we go from plural to singular, okay? Because each man wanted to have that rock for himself, a great dispute arose. And notice here, this cum clause, you know, most time with cum clauses, you can translate cum in a number of ways, particularly if it's cum with a subjunctive like we have here. And you just have to figure out from context what sounds best. Okay, it could be although each man wanted it, or because each man wanted it, whichever makes the most sense. Okay, here it seems causal because that's giving the reason why such a great dispute arose. Okay, soon, and here we have an ablative absolute. Okay, soon, after their swords were unsheathed or drawn, okay, they began to fight amongst themselves. And when or after, perhaps here, a lot of times cum with the pluperfect is best understood as after. After many had been killed in this way, the rest, exhausted by their wounds, probably an ablative of means here, okay, exhausted by means of their wounds, by Jason nullo negotio, with no effort, they were killed. Okay, so the rest, so a lot of the guys killed each other, and then the rest of the guys who were left were so tired from fighting and from being injured by the other guys that they were fighting, it made it so that they were killed. Why? Because they were exhausted by their wounds. That they were killed by Jason with no effort at all. Okay, so that's what happens in this story, and we will find out what happens next in the next chapter.